Hey, what y'all want to do today?
Touchdown, Vikings! Leaping catch for Randy Moss.
Jefferson's got separation, and he's got the catch inside the 40. Jefferson still going. See you later.
I told you and I told you. Touchdown.
20 years ago, Randy Moss redefined the wide receiver position while he wore the purple and gold. He burst onto the scene in Minnesota with flash, fury, and fireworks, a one-man highlight reel who put the Vikings on every primetime map. But lately, a new name has been dominating the headlines in Minneapolis. Justin Jefferson may be the best wide receiver in the game right now, but was he the greatest Vikings wide receiver ever? Or does one of the legends that came before him still wear the crown? Before we get into Jefferson's claim to the throne, let's talk about the guys that he's chasing. Because long before Jets grittied into the conversation in Minnesota, numbers 80 and 84 owned it. Randy Moss exploded onto the NFL stage in 1998 with 1,313 yards and 17 touchdowns, and didn't take his foot off the gas for a decade.
Moss getting position. Touchdown. He's unstoppable.
By the time he left Minnesota in 2005, he had racked up 587 catches for 9,316 yards and 92 touchdowns in just 113 games.
Anybody pay attention to Viking football? 84 don't stretch on game day. I come ready.
Moss was a freak, stretching the field and dragging cornerbacks into irrelevance. Statistically and athletically, the dude is hands down a top 5 NFL receiver all time. But is he the greatest Minnesota receiver ever? Because before Moss arrived in Minneapolis, there was a guy named Cris who still holds every Vikings receiving record, and it's not even close.
Catch by Carter. Throws it. Carter got it. What a catch by Carter. First down.
Over 12 seasons in Minneapolis, Carter racked up 1,004 receptions for 12,383 yards and 110 touchdowns. Both Carter and Moss went into the Hall of Fame as Vikings, and in the process, set the standard for every pass catcher to wear the purple and gold after them. Where Carter brought precision and structure to the game, Moss was an athletic anomaly who beat you with speed and catch radius. They were two Hall of Famers from two eras who played at a level few fans thought anyone could ever live up to. Then, Justin Jefferson arrived, and now those same fans are murmuring that he may be the team's greatest wide receiver ever. But does Jefferson even belong in that conversation, or is it too soon to tell? Let us know your thoughts in the comments after you like and subscribe to the channel. Who are we kidding? Of course Justin Jefferson belongs in this conversation, and here's why. From the moment he stepped onto an NFL field in 2020, Jets has owned the NFL wide receiver 1 conversation alongside his former LSU teammate Ja'Marr Chase. As far as Minnesota goes, Jefferson's 1,400 yards as a rookie were more than Moss's debut. The 16-16 he put up in year 2 was more than Cris Carter ever posted, and the 1,809 yards he racked up in 2022 led the entire NFL and put Justin at the top of the Vikings single-season yardage record. Since coming into the league, Jefferson has cleared the 1,000-yard mark in every season, including the year he missed 7 games to injury. He's already led the league in receiving twice and won Offensive Player of the Year in 2022. But the most remarkable stat is his 7,432 yards in just 77 games. That's 96.5 yards per game, the highest average in NFL history. To put it in perspective, Ja'Marr Chase is second all-time at 87.5 yards per game. Think about that for a second, especially if you're a fan of the Uno Jets rivalry. Justin Jefferson averages almost 10 yards per game more than the second most efficient receiver in NFL history. I mean, if you know, you know, and if you don't, we'll tell you. That stat is mind-blowing, and none of it comes from garbage time in games. Watch the tape.
Bringing pressure, it's picked up. Darnold, end zone, Jefferson, touchdown.
Justin Jefferson is the focal point of every defense Minnesota faces every week of every year, meaning most of his production comes on contested catches, double coverage, and from yards after the catch off of 5-yard ins while everyone in the stadium knows exactly where the ball is going. Apparently, it doesn't matter that he's played with 5 different quarterbacks under 3 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches in 5 seasons. Because Jefferson is more than a superstar, he's a system unto himself. And in Minnesota, that system is borderline unstoppable. But how does all of this production measure up against Moss and Carter? This isn't about who had the best NFL career overall, it's about who meant the most to the Vikings based on what they did for the team, for the fans, and for the franchise. So while Randy Moss and Cris Carter both built Hall of Fame careers playing for more than one team, and Jefferson is still writing his story, we're focusing solely on all three's impact in Minnesota. And that conversation starts with Cris Carter and his 12 seasons in Minneapolis. No drama, no off years, just relentless precision and production. Then Randy Moss came in and flipped the script. As a personality, he was everything Cris Carter wasn't. He was loud, flashy, and cocky as hell.
Call me the freak, man, because I'm a freak of nature. You're going to see today, just keep your eyes glued to the TV. I'm coming to play today, so y'all keep y'all eyes on 84, bro.
That's part of what makes this debate so interesting. If you were to combine Randy Moss and Cris Carter in terms of playing style, skill set, and personality, you would get Justin Jefferson. So let's start with the numbers, beginning with touchdown rate. While playing in Minnesota, Randy Moss caught a touchdown every 6.4 catches, which is absolutely mental. Cris Carter's rate is also ridiculous at 9.1, but nowhere near Moss. And in this category, Jets is a distant third at 12.4. Overall, Carter had the most Vikings touchdowns with 110, and it's worth noting for our younger fans that CC is also fourth all-time on the NFL receiving touchdown list behind only Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, and Terrell Owens, which is one reason we told you this debate was closer than you thought as far as all-time greatness. Now we have to talk about yardage. Carter takes the crown with over 12,000. That's roughly 3,000 more than Moss. At 7,432 in 5 years, Jefferson is on pace to shatter that number, provided he stays in Minnesota for at least 5 more years. However, Moss currently has the yards per reception lead at 15.9 to Jefferson's 15. Of course, if we're talking yards per game, Jefferson is top of that list all time, as we mentioned earlier, with 96.5 per. Moss's 82.4 isn't even in the ballpark, and he's 16.5 yards per game ahead of Cris Carter. But if we go next gen and really dig deep into efficiency, Jets runs away with it. Yards per route run is a new stat that's become one of the most accurate measures of a receiver's explosiveness, and Jefferson's career YPRR, or yards per route run, is a staggering 2.69. For context, anything above 2.0 is Pro Bowl territory, and Jefferson is closer to 3. This isn't a stat that was kept in their heyday, but Moss in his prime hovered around 2.4, while Carter averaged a respectable 2.0. And if we wrap up the stats with catch percentage, Jefferson runs away with it at 67.8%. Carter's 60% is rock solid, and Moss brings up the rear at 57.6%. From a pure statistical standpoint, if Jefferson stays healthy and in Minnesota for 5 more years, he's going to own almost every record these two set. He'll easily pass Carter in catches and yards, but he'll have to step it up significantly to get into the total touchdowns conversation. Jets may never touch Moss in touchdown rate, but he's already neck and neck in efficiency and miles ahead in yards per game. And none of this is projection, it's just basic math. Moss had the most dominant peak, Carter had the longest reign, and Jefferson is rewriting both. So how do we call it? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because there's a hell of a lot more to being great than statistics. Stats win arguments for sure, but big moments and big games are what build legends. And in Minnesota, these three guys have turned more moments into memories than anyone. Let's start with Justin Jefferson's December 2022 monster against the Colts. Coming off an 11-point loss to Detroit, Minnesota was down 33-0 at halftime and in danger of posting its third loss in 5 games after an 8-1 start.
We're gonna do it again. Forget the scoreboard. One snap at a time. Dominate.
That's when Kirk Cousins started looking for number 18, and Justin Jefferson didn't disappoint. In the second half and overtime, Jets went off with 9 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown.
Pass, looks left, throws left, caught. Jefferson 5, walks into the end zone. Touchdown!
Including a clutch 13-yarder that set up the game-winning field goal.
It's good! It's a winner, and the Vikings are kings in the North once again!
It was the single biggest comeback in NFL history, and it helped right the ship in Minnesota and secure a spot in the playoffs. But Jefferson is more than just clutch. He's become the face of the organization and one of the most iconic names in the NFL. Fans across the country love him, not just for turning 3rd and longs into highlight reels, but for bringing the gritty into living rooms, schoolyards, and stadiums nationwide. He's electric on the field, magnetic off it, and has become the embodiment of the new era Vikings. Meanwhile, Cris Carter was the model of reliability and consistency in the old guard. But as great as he was on Sundays, CC meant even more to the franchise off the field. When the team needed a veteran to sit down a rookie, Carter was the guy. If you needed a powerful voice in the locker room, CC gave you gospel. On the field, Carter didn't blow past defenders. He quietly outworked them, and in the process, showed every young Viking how to play like a pro, including you-know-who. As a rookie, Randy Moss brought instant electricity to the Twin Cities along with a ton of baggage. After losing scholarships at Notre Dame and Florida State for off-the-field issues, Moss played his college ball at Marshall University. In his only year of Division I football, Moss led the MAC with 1,647 receiving yards, and he led the entire nation with 25 touchdowns. A year later, he arrived in Minnesota, cocky and pissed off at the world, and for good reason. But it was Cris Carter who kept Randy in check and taught him how to channel his anger and frustration into productivity.
Hey, Moss! Make the play, won't nobody else make. That's what makes us different.
And when Randy was focused, no wide receiver in the game was more dangerous. Just ask the 1998 Dallas Cowboys. On Thanksgiving Day that year, Moss hauled in 3 passes for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's 54 yards and a touchdown every time he touched the ball.
Hi, Mom! Happy Thanksgiving!
But Randy didn't rally teammates the way Carter did, and he didn't coach young guys like Jefferson. He simply let his talent do the talking. That was the trade-off with Moss. More magic than mentorship. More fireworks than foundation. So where does that leave us as far as the intangibles? Carter was the rock, Moss was the spark, but Jefferson is the whole package. Stats, mentorship, and stability. You want a face of the franchise? Well, Jefferson is the brand. On every banner, every jersey, every defensive game plan. And the scary part is, he's only 25. So, as far as who was the greatest Viking receiver, here's where we land. Cris Carter gave the Vikings a decade plus of dominance. He was the definition of consistency and reliability, scoring double-digit touchdowns year after year while leading the franchise in career receptions, yards, and touchdowns. When Moss exploded onto the scene and bent the entire league to his will, he didn't just change the Vikings, he changed football and what an elite receiver can be. And now Justin Jefferson is putting together the most efficient start to a wide receiver career that we've ever seen. The most yards per game in NFL history, the highest catch rate of the 3, and he's doing it all while being keyed on by every opposing defense. So, where does that lead us? What's the verdict? As it stands, Cris Carter is still the greatest Vikings wide receiver. How can he not be while holding every team record? Not to mention that much of Randy Moss's success in Minnesota came not only from lining up alongside Carter, but from his mentorship as well. Because if you watched the NFL in the 2000s and 2010s, you know that Randy Moss's career could have gone very differently had number 80 not been looking over his shoulder. At the end of the day though, none of that will matter in 5 years, because if Justin Jefferson stays in Minnesota and keeps putting up numbers at this pace, he'll break Carter's records, he'll match Moss's peak, and he'll do it all as the face of the franchise. And there you have it. 3 legends, 3 eras, and 1 question answered. Carter built the foundation, Moss made it electric, and Jefferson is redefining what comes next. But for now, Cris Carter still wears the crown in Minnesota. So it's time for you to weigh in. Is Justin Jefferson the greatest Vikings wide receiver of all time, or is he still chasing ghosts? Drop your verdict in the comment section below. Carter, Moss, or Jefferson? And tell us, what matters more, career totals, peak dominance, or all-time consistency? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this debate may be just getting started.